stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me.
How many of you know this song? You've never heard this before, have you, Trevor?
No, I haven't.
Do you know who it is?
I do not.
Welcome to the live community, confidant community. It's Wednesday. And we're back. Jackie Porter, the financial confidant. And how many of you have taken in a live before? Because if you have, you know we're all about making financial conversations more accessible. So today we have the diva, Sia, doing Fly Me to the Moon. And I'm being joined today by Trevor Thingelstad from Lawyers Financial. And actually, welcome, Trevor. You said you didn't know this one, right?
No, I didn't know it.
Yes. Well, our theme today is this live is if you're a lawyer, you need to stay tuned, because if you've been listening to the news, we know the news has not been positive about the markets. Never is. Remember, the news, the media is not your advisor. So luckily, we have an advisor from Lawyers Financial with us today for the lawyers listening in. And today is all about helping lawyers select investing. So why did I choose Sia? As you know, live confidant community, I love pretending to be a DJ. This is like my hobby. Hopefully you're enjoying some of the songs. Did any of you know this song? Sia, Fly Me to the Moon. Why did I choose Fly Me to the Moon? You know, there's always a method. There's always a method to this. I chose Fly Me to the Moon because, as I said, the media is not your advisor. And if you've been hearing about the drops in the market and all of the volatility and all of the uncertainty, and maybe you've been having money sitting on the sidelines, not sure what to do. Well, this live is for you, especially if you're a lawyer, because I've got Trevor Thingelstad. Thank you so much for being here today, Trevor. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for inviting me.
We're going to talk about how lawyers choose investments and how Lawyers Financial can help them with growing their investments. So Fly Me to the Moon was deliberate because that's kind of the direction everybody wants, is to see their investments go this way versus going that way. And, the thing about the markets is you just never know what's going to happen. And it's really a long game, isn't it, Trevor?
Yes, it's long term. If you're not long-term investor in the market, it probably isn't right for you. Long term, 7 to 10 years or longer.
Yeah. I think people, because we've been in this 24-hour, I keep forgetting when, CNN, I know I won't say too much because then everybody will know how old I am. But I remember when news just would end at you get a half an hour. That's the news. I remember Peter Truman doing the news. I'm really dating myself here, but Peter Truman doing the news on Global many, many years ago. I won't say how long. And that was it. But now we're in this 24-hour news cycle. I feel like that started maybe sometime in the early 2000s.
I think that's right.
About there. And so I think everything became much more immediate. Everybody needed to know what was happening all the time. And I'm sure there's benefits to that, but there's also drawbacks, isn't there? Because if you're someone who's waiting to find out what's going on in the markets every day and watching the stock ticker up and down, that might cause you to make the wrong investment decisions. Is that the case, Trevor?
There's always some noise in the market, or being on the news about the market. As long as you're a long-term investor, the markets will serve you well. But if you buy 1 year and you want to sell in 6 months later, there's no way of knowing where the market's going to be in that short of time frame.
Exactly. And I cannot emphasize enough, confidant community, that the market, the media is not your advisor. So don't go to them thinking that, they're going to tell you when it's the right time to buy. right time to sell, which is why I wanted Trevor to come on. And just for those lawyers out there, and I'm talking about the guilty and the innocent, so not calling anybody out by name today, but how many of you out there have money on the sidelines because we won't say it's an excuse. You're busy, and maybe you're distracting yourself from making investment decisions just because you don't feel confident. And I know for my female clients, those are some of the things they tell me. They're like, I sold a property, or, I have an inheritance, or, I have money that, after paying my bills, it's just sitting in my account. I call that lazy money. While you're working, your money is doing what? Looking at you, collecting dust. What? Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited. Like, Trevor, tell me about that whole process of when a lawyer comes to you. What are some of the reasons actually that actually make them decide, okay, I'm ready to invest? I'd love for you to share that with the live community.
Quite often, I've been meeting new lawyers. They might have just started articling recently, and they'll say to me they have $20,000 or $30,000 in debt, and they want to know what they should do, whether pay off the debt first or save for a down payment on a home. And typically, the best choice is for them to save in tax-free savings and RSP towards the down payment on a home, and from the tax refund, then use that to pay down the debt. It allows them to both pay down the debt faster than it normally would be paid, and they would have some savings to use as a down payment on a home.
And that's actually interesting, because I wouldn't necessarily think that the lawyers that are coming to you asking you about investments would necessarily be those young lawyers who might feel like saddled, weighed down. Yes. I'd love to know, live community out there, one of my questions for you today is, are you a young lawyer and are you currently investing? And if yes, why? And if no, why? We'd love for you to post in the chat and share with us what some of your reasons are for or not investing. Because my thought would be, with interest rates going up, and I know that's also a concern for people, inflation, of course, all of these reasons can give, and then of course the downturn in the market give people reasons to feel like they shouldn't invest. But for the young lawyer, it's like, should I invest even to save for a home? Is that even a possibility? Maybe I'll just not deal with it and I'll just keep busy and do my lawyering, right? You know what I mean? So the temptation might be strong to do that, but you're finding that these young lawyers are coming to you saying, you know what, I want to figure out, how can I do both? How can I pay down my debt? And how can I also put money away for a home purchase? I mean, yes, it may feel far away, especially if you're in Toronto trying to buy a house, but you're finding you're having those kinds of conversations.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, are there other groups that are other types of lawyers that are coming to you, and what are some of the scenarios that you're seeing with them?
Well, I have lawyers in the middle of their career or towards the end of their career, and they have other questions, other needs, and we do financial planning at Lawyers Financial, and we have ideas for various stages in their career.
Right. So for the lawyer who's sort of mid-stage, because we were talking a little bit about young lawyers, what are some of the reasons? Because I find, as a planner myself, and did you hear what Trevor said? Lawyers, if you're trying to figure out some of these things, Lawyers Financial offers free, look at my hand, free, zero cost planning. So if you're looking, because if you're a CBIA member, that's something that your CBIA membership offers you, is access to free planning. So if you're on the sidelines, check that out. But if you're a mid-career lawyer, my question to you, Trevor, is what are some of the reasons for some of those mid-career lawyers approaching you about investing? What are some of the things that they're telling you?
Sometimes they'll come to me and they have money spread out among several institutions, and they find it overwhelming to try to keep track of it. And I can do a plan for them and suggest how that portfolio should be put together. And by bringing it all to lawyers, we can save them lots on fees as well.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I think that's, a conversation I think more and more people who might be looking at their statements thinking, especially when the market's down, probably less when the market's up, but they're like, what am I paying for here? I'm seeing negative something, and then I'm also paying a fee on top of that. Feels so unfair.
Well, unfortunately, every investment out there has a fee attached to it, but the fees that lawyers are less than your typical bank, for example, because CBIA owns Lawyers Financial and it's a nonprofit organization. So the portion of the fee that a bank would charge for the profit for that bank is not on the Lawyers Financial funds. It's typically half to 3/4% lower than what you would find at a bank.
Yeah, it's definitely worth, if you're a lawyer listening right now, a mid-career lawyer, and you're thinking about, oh, I've got all these investments all over the place. Wouldn't it be nice to consolidate, especially to a lower fee option, investment option? You need to talk to lawyers. Like, it just needs to happen because there are options available. And we're going to dive into, risk tolerance and that conversation that clients ask me about in a moment. But you need to talk to lawyers about how you can bring everything together, especially as time goes on, because we're talking about mid-career lawyers who might have investment objectives around, consolidating. But I'm thinking some of the other clients who might be top of mind for would be retirees getting income from a whole bunch of different places. And if they have investments everywhere, it's kind of hard to keep track and manage the tax bill at the end of the year if money is all over the place, isn't it?
Yes. I have talked to the odd lawyer that throughout their career they manage their own money, but then they've told me, I've done this all along. Now I want to step back, enjoy retirement, and have somebody else look after my money. So that's a conversation I have sometimes as well.
No, I can see it going back to those busy lawyers who are distracted. They're too busy. They're too busy. They have time to look at their investments because they're so busy. And that might be, dare I say, a reason for them not to deal with it, especially if you feel, and again, I've had these conversations with women, if you feel overwhelmed and you're not sure how to make investment decisions and you're watching the market go down, your portfolio go down that you might have, or you might be hearing what the media is telling you about, oh, this is a terrible time to invest. And you and I are going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But before we do, the other thing I was going to say about mid-career lawyers investing is I find, and I've had Karen on before where we were talking about planning for mid-stage career lawyers. They have so many things they have to spend money on. And then they also have to figure out how to invest for their retirement. And so the planning piece is so crucial, having a plan where you figure out what you actually can save and what you need to save for retirement. And then talking to someone like yourself, Trevor, to say, okay, now that you figured out, here's how we can maximize what's available to you, what you'll have available to you in retirement. And we recognize not only do you have to save for retirement, you might have those lovely children that look like you, thank God, and they're cute. So you have to figure out how to pay for them, right? How do we pay for their school? How do we pay for college? How do we, pay for maybe private school? Because I see clients, wanting to give their children the best educational experience that maybe they didn't have. And they're trying to figure out how to pay for all these things, and having a plan and then figuring out the investments that are going to match what they need is also really important. So let's talk a little bit about how investments get chosen, because I think sometimes when I've had conversations with clients about, yes, I need to invest, and they're like, Jackie, I know I've only have experience buying GICs. I'm coming, like, these are new people coming to the practice and they're not lawyers, So they're like, I've only ever invested in GICs or had the money in a checking account. But, I've heard from my friend, a stock tip, that they could make 15% in their investments a year. How do I get into an investment like that? How does that look? How do we get invested that way? So let's talk a little bit about investment selection, shall we? Because no two investors are equal. And so how your neighbor is investing may not necessarily be how you should be investing. So let's dive into that a little bit, Trevor.
So when I meet with somebody, I'll do a questionnaire with them. It's a risk tolerance questionnaire, which is a fancy way of saying we ask 9 questions to make sure we understand what kind of investor you are, what experience you've had in the past, and what you expect the investment to do in the future. Now, typically we won't take a client from an all GIC portfolio and put them
15%
in
investment?
15.
That's not possible?
Yeah. An investment that can do 15% in 1 year can also lose 15% in 1 year.
Or more.
It could, or it could make more than 15% in 1 year too. Um, Typically, a GIC client would go to something more balanced portfolio, balanced between stocks and bonds. It's not going to do 15% in 1 year, but it doesn't lose 15% in 1 year either.
Yeah,
It's
and
much more conservative.
exactly. And what you should know, confidant community, there's something called behavioral finance, where it talks about how people actually feel about investing. So all these people who come to me, and you know who you are, I'm seeing you, I see you, all right? They will come to me and they'll say, yeah, they may put me in that investment that's 15%. But if they were to be in that investment, let's just go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit in time because it's only 2023. Like, where are we? 5 months into the year now. But do you remember 2019? How great the market was? And then 2020 came along. So if you bought that investment, so let's say Trevor didn't do something like a risk tolerance questionnaire with you. He's just like, yeah, okay, let's put you in that 15% investment because you could do so well in
And this
that.
is 2019, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we bought it in December 2019. We bought that stock, that hot investment that we heard about. And then March of 2020 came.
COVID hit us.
Yeah. Do you remember that wonderful time when Trump was still president? Was he? I can't remember. But I just know that we had a lot of this. And so if you bought in particular in December of 2019, and then we got to March of 2020, you might have seen the 15% that, maybe we started with in December become negative 25%. Yeah. And so why I bring that up is people feel a lot more emotional and upset about losing money. That's what the behavioral finance theory says, than they do about making money. Are you that person? How do you feel when you make money versus how do you feel when you lose money in the markets? Like kind of right now, a little bit. I'd love for you to post in the chat, live community. How do you feel when you get your statements and you see your investments down versus how do you feel when you get your statements? Everybody feels good when it's up, right? So how do you feel? Because the research suggests that you're going to actually be more likely to be upset, have anxiety, and maybe get out of that investment. Say, oh, I'm in the because does it mean you were wrong, Trevor? Just because we bought something in 2019 that was making money and then 3 months later it's down, does that mean that you made the wrong decision, even if you're an aggressive
investor? I don't think so. If you buy the 15% investment in 2019, I'm pretty sure 10 years later it's going to be worth a lot more than when you bought it in 2019. But in the medium or short term, there's no way of knowing where it's going to go. But over the long term, it will go up, and it'll go up a lot.
Exactly, and that's why. And some of you, again, I see you. A lot of people, sometimes their eyes glaze over when we show them those charts and the data points. We show that to you so that you have the opportunity. Oh, not sure what just happened here. All of a sudden, my screen went. Can you see me, guys? I don't know what happened just now. Anyway, I was going to say that's why we show you those data points on the chart so that you can see over a year, over 3 years, over 5 years, over 10 years, what can happen in that investment. And typically with stocks, you're going to see an opportunity to keep up with inflation. You're going to see volatility, but you're going to also, if you're in stock portfolios or investments that contain stocks, so mutual funds or index funds or investments that contain stocks or equities, because that means the same thing, you're going to see more opportunity to keep up with inflation, keep up with interest rates, and you'll see more opportunity for your capital to grow from where it started. That's what happens in a stock-based investments, but you have to deal with. So this is why we show you these charts, because you have to deal with these increments of time, these data points of time where things aren't good. And we see the market go all over the place. And then we hear how horrible things are. And, Trevor and I were having a conversation before he came on where we were like, oh, let's, the reason we don't want you to focus on the media is because let's think about all the uncertain events we've seen. Trevor, maybe you can help me. Remind remind me,
Well,
what were some of the, like, for me,
we've talked about COVID already, but before that, it was Brexit.
Brexit? What
Um,
else?
there's been a currency
2008 when
crisis in
Lehman
Brazil.
Brothers. We've seen now, and then last year, what a fun last year was, right? Oh, I think we had what, 7 interest rate hikes. We had inflation. Oh, and that little thing called the war in Ukraine. Is that already a memory? Because I believe it's still going on.
It's still going on.
So, I think uncertainty is something that we probably don't talk about enough in this industry. It's real. It's like what life looks like. We don't know what tomorrow brings for any of us. We don't know what tomorrow brings for the market. People ask me all the time, where is the market going? Let me give you my perfect answer for that. I don't know. And neither does anybody else. Yeah. That's why they always talk about it afterwards. And everybody has all these brilliant ideas. But what I do know, if we look at 100 years of research, is you can't make money unless you're in the game. Am I lying, Trevor?
No, that's totally true. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market that makes you money.
Yeah. So, you know, what happens if your money, like I think this is a GIC conversation I have sometimes with clients, is sure, it feels great when you don't see volatility in your investments until time becomes your enemy rather than your friend. So that $10,000 that you started with, that goes from 10,000 to 12.5 or 13.5, 10 years later, it doesn't feel so good then. So pick your poison, pick your pain point, right? Do you want to not have a scenario where your capital, you outlive your capital? So here you are, and then your money's finished. Or do you want a scenario where you're putting your portfolio in the best position to see it grow and see it continue to have a chance, a fighting chance at keeping up with inflation? This is what the research about the stock market does, is it tells us that you got to be in to win. You got to be in it to win it. You got to let time do what it does, right? To magically give you the opportunity for your money to compound and grow. Is that right, Trevor?
Yeah, that's correct. Totally.
So I think, so we talked a little bit about time horizon. So we talked about how lawyers helps you choose investments. Is there anything else? What advice would you give, Trevor, lawyers right now who are thinking, you know, what should I do? Like, how do I start this whole process of figuring out what I should be invested in? You know, where do I start?
Well, it might be something stepping back a few steps and actually doing a financial plan and ensuring you have the correct amount of insurance for disability and life, as well as beginning your investment plan. Quite often people will worry about, you know, the more aggressive investments before they have the more basics in place, such as insurance or a more conservative investment.
So true, Trevor, because we just finished talking about managing life's uncertainties. It's not like we don't have uncertainties to deal with in our own individual, in our own personal life. As you said, there was also some research. I have a white paper, and I'm happy to offer it to the lawyers who are watching. So if you're interested in the white paper, DM us. Jody is on this live. We can send you the white paper, and it's basically talking about how you can work less and earn more. And one of those ways is putting your money to work. And I bring up the white paper because when I was researching what's the biggest financial risks to people, it's actually not the market. It's actually not. It's losing your job, or in a scenario where your business doesn't work. It's getting divorced, and it's becoming critically ill.
Yes. So
those are
having the inability to earn an income.
That's right. So becoming critically ill or disabled, losing your livelihood, which is one of the ways you lose your life, is becoming critically ill or disabled, or getting a divorce. So choose wisely in these areas and build a plan that you can have a plan in place that will help you understand your risks. Because a lot of what Trevor was talking about, confidant community, are what are the life triggers? Typically, people who are coming to you, Trevor, you're basically saying they're coming to you because they're going through some kind of life trigger. Maybe they've graduated from their law program, so now they need to make some investment decisions. Or they might be in mid-stage career where now they're coming to you because they need to figure out how they're going to save and balance out all of their competing priorities around, raising children and continuing to build out their career. Or you might be seeing people who are, I'm getting ready to retire. Am I going to be okay? Women ask me constantly, am I going to be okay?
And we
The
can do the
best way to
financial
know
plan
that is
that
to do
will.
a financial plan. What were you going to say, Trevor?
I was just we can do a financial plan that will project their retirement lifestyle given their assets and their income needs.
Exactly. So what Trevor and I are both saying is it's not so much about the investments. The investments are important, but how you're going to sleep better, feel less anxious about what's going on in the markets, ups and downs, is to have a plan. Then the investments, we can project out in the investments a very conservative return. So you're not looking at a really high bar that you'll have to meet.
Yes.
So it's really about building that plan and then putting your investments to do the work, putting the time in to make sure that, you pick those right investments, as Trevor was talking about before. Doing that, I know the risk tolerance questionnaire is so exciting, but we really want to make sure that we're putting you in investments that you're going to stay in, that you're going to be in for the long term, so you can actually benefit from the returns when they show up.
Yes.
You're not going to benefit from them. That's actually another huge piece of research that you should be aware of. The average investor who listens to the markets, who listens to the media, doesn't make the returns that you see actually on some of these, return portfolio fund fact sheets. They don't make those returns. Why? Because they came in the market. They did exactly what, Warren Buffett told them not to do. They sold low and they bought high. They're like, now it's time to come back into the markets. And they do that. I think that anxiety comes from, Trevor, that sense that I don't know if I'm going to be okay. Like, what if the money doesn't, so if you have financial confidence when you kind of focus on the things that you can control. What's the worst case scenario in terms of rate of return? So let's use a conservative return so that we can know that comfortably you can sleep at night, and the investment, your actual retirement, your financial plan is going to be, rock solid. You're going to have that fortress around your finances with, a risk plan and a financial plan. And then that way you can feel a lot more confident about your investment decisions over the long term. You're going to leave your portfolio alone to do what it needs to do. And you're going to have a really clear idea of what your future might look like with a financial plan. Am I missing anything, Trevor?
No, what you're saying sounds perfect.
Okay, so tell this legal community how they can get in touch with you if they want to build an investment plan.
Well, they can go to Lawyers Financial and find a link to my Calendly. So you can book an appointment in my calendar. I could send you my email and you could distribute that if they need that.
Absolutely. We would really appreciate it. So if you're looking for a financial plan, Jody's also put up her link to the white paper. So check out the white paper. DM us if you're interested in the complimentary financial plan. We will definitely get you in touch with the team at Lawyers Financial so that they can get you feeling confident about making financial decisions, also giving you that, hopefully giving you that wind in your sails to think, okay, you know what? Investing isn't that challenging. I just have to let my investments do the work it needs to do. And I've got a plan. So I'm all sorted. I think it's like pressing the easy button, right? Because when you press the easy button, it's because you know what to expect. So knowing what to expect is all about having that plan and building that fortress. So we really want to help you to do that. DM us if you want the support. We're here for you, live community. This is actually, so Trevor, thank you for joining me. This is actually our second to last live on how to achieve growth. Because all this month we've been talking about growth. What does growth look like? Why can growth be deceptive? We've had you come on talking about building growth in your investments. What do you need to do? live community. Have you been watching all of these? Be sure to check out the previous lives if you haven't. And remember, if you like this live, please share it with a friend, someone who is looking for this type of information. And please like and follow our future lives, our future content that we have to share. Love to see you next week on our final live for the month on growth. You don't want to miss it. So see you next week. Thanks again for tuning into the live Confidant community. See you then. Bye, everyone. Thanks again, Trevor.
Thank you.